Islamist supporters of the ousted Mohammed Morsi gathered for fresh rallies across Egypt after Friday prayers. Army and police have been deployed in Cairo in case violence breaks out. The protests come a day after the country's ex-president Hosni Mubarak was freed from prison and placed under house arrest in a military hospital. Mubarak is still due to stand trial for allegedly ordering the killings of protesters during the 2011 revolution. RT's Beltrou reports now from Cairo.
This was the chant that united Tahrir Square and the nation. Mubarak, get out. During 2011's January revolution, millions called for 30 years of dictatorship to come to an end. A year later, with Hosni Mubarak on trial, the nation was still hopeful for justice. Crowds called for the aged autocrat to be sentenced to death. But now, after several rounds of deadly street violence that led to 2 coups in just over 2 years, Tahrir is empty. The military are overseeing a second transitional period, and the one-time leader is out of prison.
The country is going to be unsafe because his release will only inflame the situation. People are afraid that he might make a return as president.
People came to the streets in 2011 asking for the ouster of Hosni Mubarak and bread, freedom and social justice. But years later, the situation across the country is a lot worse. The daily street battles that rock Egypt have left hundreds dead. Economy is in free fall, tourism has dried up, and sectarian violence is on the rise. With the release of Hosni Mubarak from prison, for many, this is the final straw.
The release means the January revolution didn't happen, and the June revolution also didn't happen. Rights won by the revolution and the martyrs are now lost.
Court ordered the deposed leader be freed from this prison in Cairo. Although he still faces a retrial for his alleged involvement in the killing of protesters and will be kept under house arrest, some feel the court system has let them down. There are claims vital evidence in the proceedings had been destroyed.
People are disappointed in how the trial went. They were hoping that the country would try harder and keep him behind bars. But we're angry because we didn't want him to be out.
Activists who are planning new protests say freeing of the ex-president is another sign that the army-backed government is trying to back the clock.
I feel that we haven't progressed at all right now. Mubarak's release is symbolic of where we are now in the revolution. I mean, we never really managed to change anything at the top, and this is why this is just a perfect reflection of our inability to change anything really, and this is why we have to keep going for it. But with his release, it seems to me like we have a lot of work to do.
In the meantime, the 85-year-old Mubarak will stay in a military hospital to await his next court appearance, which is likely to trigger more protests. And that's the last thing the divided country needs right now. Beltrou for RT, Cairo.
Over recent months, Egypt has suffered from the bloodiest civil unrest in its modern history. The Muslim Brotherhood has called on its supporters to continue protests against the interim military rule which took down President Morsi. And activist Ala Mohammed believes the new army-backed government is destroying all hope of a democratic Egypt.
At the end of the day, what we're seeing is nothing to do with the Muslim Brotherhood or Morsi. This is a country. This is Egypt. It's bigger than any faction. It's bigger than any political or religious group. We have about 90 million Egyptians living in Egypt, and what the military coup and the military junta did, they came and wiped away all our democratically elected institutions. The people in power, the ones that were ousted by the military rule, were chosen by the people themselves. What we are witnessing today is people who lost in elections coming back to power on the back of tanks, and anyone who came out to oppose them and say, no, this is not the right thing to do and this is not the Egypt we want, were ultimately either put in jail or killed.